It's 1-2 defeat to Senegal's Giraffe. The details right now. Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on CRTV. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé.
I have personally observed that most of our fellow citizens no longer comply with the protective measures prescribed by the government.
Christians in Cameroon have joined their peers the world over to celebrate the solemnity of Pentecost Sunday, the day they believe the Holy Spirit descended upon the apostles of Jesus Christ. In Yaoundé, Archbishop Jean Barga called on Christians of the Metropolitan Archdiocese to be men and women of faith so as to merit salvation from Jesus Christ. Let's listen to the Archbishop of Yaoundé, His Grace Jean Barga.
This day is the solemnity of Pentecost, and we celebrate the gift of God. The great gift of God is the Holy Spirit to the people, to the church, to the world. With the Holy Spirit, faithful can live really the gospel. On this day, we send to a new mission to all the faithful, especially those who are engaged in the church by the Association of Apostolate. We thank God for their involvement in the church, and we want that they continue to improve the availability for the service of the Lord.
Faithful of the Église Presbyterienne Camerounaise EPC Albert Theodonium of Ngwaikele in the nation's capital Yaoundé have been urged to let the Holy Spirit guide and direct them in whatever they do in life. That was the message delivered by Reverend Martin Ghana during celebrations marking the feast of the Pentecost this Sunday. Gerard Nanji Eyambe reports.
In songs of praise and worship, Christians of the EPC Albert Theodonium parish of Ngwaikele, Betania, commemorate the coming of the Holy Spirit, which descended on the apostles and other disciples on the day of Pentecost, causing them to speak in tongues. Drawing inspiration from Acts 2 verses 1 to 8, the preacher admonished faithful to uphold the fruit of the Spirit, while shunning envy, discrimination, enmity, and other vices. The prelate maintains only by doing so can they attract the Holy Spirit to dwell in them.
Let the Holy Spirit direct your life. Every Christian can let the Holy Spirit direct his life.
The day was equally marked by baptism and the administration of First Holy Communion. Communicants were exhorted to emulate the examples of Jesus Christ, especially as the Pentecost signifies the beginning of the missions of the Church to take the gospel of salvation to all the ends of the world.
Let's now visit the littoral and south regions for a joint report on how Pentecost Sunday was celebrated in Douala and in Ebolova.
Christians at the St. Peter Parish, Grand Anga Bonaberi, are thanking God for the descent of the Holy Spirit, while reminding the faithful on the need to promote love. The parish priest, Reverend Father Jean Bosco Yamp, lauded this Christian, Christians Otu, for providing an altar to the parish. An act, he says, is possible when the love of God lives and leads in the lives of Christians. Over the St. Jacques Parish, Logbaba, the message was for all to be selfless and be freely guided by the Holy Spirit.
To take decision is not easy at all, but if we try to follow the voice of the Holy Spirit in our hearts, it will be easy for us.
The Pentecost feast was equally marked by the sacrament of baptism for some Christians.
Christians of the Our Lady of Fatima Parish, Ebolova, praising God for the gift of the Holy Spirit. It is Pentecost Sunday, the day Christ fulfilled his promise to his apostles by sending them a helper, the Holy Spirit. Preaching from John chapters 15 and 16, the Vicar General of the Ebolova Diocese, Monseigneur Georges Bertrand Melobo, urged the Christians to allow the Holy Spirit transform them. Today we have received the ultimate force, which enables us to be witnesses of the gospel. Similar messages echoed in other denominations across the town of Ebolova, urging Christians to give the helper the rightful place so as to bear fruits of love, joy, and peace in order to make the world a better place.
On to other news stories now. Cameroon is one of the 2 countries in the world after Jamaica in Central America to benefit from a United Nations Special Fund for the fight against the circulation and use of small firearms. The fund comes at a time the Prime Minister, head of government, Dr. Joseph John Gute, visited Boya in the southwest region to supervise the destruction of firearms seized from non-state armed groups. Kilandan Difon reports.
A UN delegation in Yaoundé to put in place a special fund to fight against the trafficking of firearms from a humanitarian perspective.
The fights from the classical angle, but also taking into account the needs of the local population in terms of development and protection as well. Cameroon is the lone beneficiary in Africa. Cameroon has been selected because of the very proactive action of the MINREX, which has a very good cooperation with the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs.
The delegation of Antonio Guterres was received in Yaoundé by the chairperson of the National Commission for Human Rights and Freedoms, Professor James Wange Ekobila. The UN delegation's visit falls in line with the visit of the Prime Minister, head of government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute to Boya to supervise the public destruction of firearms within the UN perspective of the project. But before even the materialization of the fund, Cameroon is already working to silence the guns, either voluntarily or forcibly recovered from non-state armed groups in the security-troubled northwest and southwest regions.
Cameroon's participation in the first United Nations Food System Summit is in view. A regional workshop to prepare stakeholders for the world event has ended at Balmayo in the central region. Beatrice Gum reports that the preoccupation of farmers and producers have been documented for a final review before the UN Food Summit starts.
They are stakeholders in the agri-food sector. Their mission in Balmayo in the Central region is unique to brainstorm on Cameroon's participation at the first United Nations Food Systems Summit, to draft the final document to be presented at the summit on Cameroon's food situation, the need to identify all problems and actors that intervene in the production and food processing chain in the Central region.
Our products get bad in the farms for lack of roads. We lack adequate farming material. Producers cannot decide on their prices to sell cocoa. For instance, it's not the producer that decides on the price, it's the others. We have all these problems and hope at the summit these problems will be resolved so the producer can reap of his labor.
Censoring these problems and talking to the different actors will help them improve on the production and consumption system in the Central region.
Our target is to make production accessible to all producers and consumption equally accessible to all consumers. So the goal is to encourage the production of what we consume.
The final document to be presented at the Food Systems Summit is expected to carry the reports from all regions and to reflect the food reality in Cameroon.
The Lake Chad Basin Commission will hold an extraordinary summit in the days ahead in Nigeria. The summit will focus on issues dealing with security and the environment among the 6 member states, Cameroon included. Ahead of the summit, Charles Ebony presents the Lake Chad Basin Commission, which is headquartered in the Chadian capital, N'Djamena.
Today made up of 6 countries with a 57-year existence, the Lake Chad Basin Commission, with headquarters in the Chadian capital N'Djamena, is an inter-sub-regional organization.
The Lake Chad Basin Commission itself has a project for the vulnerable, the women and the young.
Clearly battered by climate change today, the waterway has nosedived from 25,000 kilometers in the 1960s to about 5,000 today.
About $12 billion. That is what we are talking about. But as you said, it's a rough indicative budget. We will have the more comprehensive budget after the territorial action plans have been produced by the governors and costed.
Apart from the climate change challenge, insecurity has taken hold on the area as groups such as Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb have shattered lives of people therein.
The Chad area and the Sahel are overlapping areas geographically. So we are talking about one and the same thing. There are linkages, of course, between Boko Haram and what is happening in the Sahel area.
The next extraordinary summit to hold in Nigeria will handle, amongst other things, the Chadian temperatures following the tragic death of Field Marshal President Idris Deby Itno.
If you're just joining us, you're watching the 7:30 news on CRTV. Thank you. States all over the world have been experimenting with various models to bring back their economies to the rail after the uncertainties brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. Economists insist on an entrepreneurial culture as one of the keys to unlock economic development. In the following analysis, Crise argues that a better understanding of the stakes is essential in bringing about the anticipated leap.
A society that enhances the exhibition of the attributes, values, beliefs, and behaviors related to entrepreneurs. This is Christabel Divine Brownson's take on entrepreneurial culture. Embracing this view just might be one of the pathways to Cameroon's socio-economic growth at a time when the business agenda has taken on turns of only hard work and competitiveness paying off. A concept alien to many, the idea is that of creating an ecosystem where whatever it takes to be a successful entrepreneur thrives with the goal of attaining sustainable jobs. These are crucial for small and medium-sized enterprises willing to make it. Opinions hold that a better perception of entrepreneurship translates into actions which will see more support for entrepreneurs from organizations and investors. For the state, there is no taking exception to claims that a joint approach and efforts and strategies running along parallel lines will do the trick. In many cases anyway. Furthermore, misconceptions and unproductive attitudes cannot take precedence over the economic fate of the nation and its people. Setting the pace and ensuring that all actors toe the line will only be evidenced from the proceeds. The entrepreneurial culture thus no longer becomes a mindset for an elite folk, but a veritable tool to drive growth.
One of the pillars of Cameroon's 2020-2030 development strategy is its human capital and well-being. The government says it is needed as a priority in order to obtain a structural transformation of the economy. In continuation of our series on National Day, Cynthia Saptala reports that developing the potential of young people today is vital in reviving the economy tomorrow.
Cameroon's National Development Strategy for the next 10 years has identified the human capital as driving force for development. A couple of actions geared towards improving the skills and employability of the young people currently active has already been undertaken through the provision of various technical and vocational training programs. For example, the Special Youth 3-Year Plan has in 2020 financed about 5,500 projects, enabling the settlement of over 16,000 young people in pioneer villages. Same for the Decent Employment Promotion Program, which created 500,000 jobs during the 2021 financial year. Developing the human capital also entails modernizing the training process by including the use of ICTs, as well as providing business incubators for young people to utilize and create enterprises. This year's celebration of national unity was a call for a more active participation of the youth, one that is achievable by the development of their potentials.
Trade union representatives in the transport sector, architects and other development partners from councils have begun painting the realities and challenges of the Douala transportation sector dominated by commercial motorbike riders. They exchanged ideas while identifying ways of modernizing and rendering the sector more attractive at the start of the Douala Economic Forum. We have details with Mercy Ashu in Douala.
The Douala Economic Forum has kicked off on a mind-blowing subject that is visible to every city dweller. which is the problem of urban transportation, which, according to many observers, are perpetrated by commercial motorbike riders. Pedestrians, commercial bike riders, truck drivers or taxi drivers therefore need constant training and sensitization to catch up with the new image that development partners want to move Douala into.
During our intervention and participation, some participants was telling that the future of the Douala town maybe without motorbiker. We arrive at the point that the finality, the end, will be first from motorbiker chairman to get the right information.
The emphasis should really be stressed on the behavioral aspect, your mindset. After the training, there are new people who come in. Those who are coming even out of Cameroon, and then those who are coming from rural areas, who for the past are not gotten the training.
The question is, how prepared are city dwellers and development actors ready to run with this vision?
Economic shocks associated with the COVID-19 pandemic will have long-lasting consequences on the economies of Central African states. In order to circumvent the effects, CEMAC has embarked on broad economic and financial reforms to revive its economy. Caroline Okianoma reports on the remedial measures proposed by the member states of the economic bloc.
The CEMAC region is at a critical juncture as the second phase of the regional strategy is about to begin. To that end, the new challenges of the sub-region have been identified for the period of 2021 to 2025. Some of the strategies envisaged to deal with it is to radically transform the region by implementing good governance, transparency, improve business climate reforms that will lay basis for a diversified, inclusive, and sustainable growth. This should be supported by the private sector and the development of a diversified economy, greater dynamization of markets and financial systems.
The reforms undertaken so far in accordance with CEMAC must therefore be strengthened and continue as part of the next stage of the program.
In this perspective, a new matrix of the actions of CEMAC for the period of 2021 to 2025 has been established, specifying the general and specific objectives, actions to be carried out, criteria for achievement, and the level of priority of each action. The matrix also includes a precise chronogram of achievements, which will be supported by targeted performance indicators.
Youths of Ombessa in Bam and Inubu division have thanked President Paul Biya for appointing one of their, Crtv Boyegenu, as the first ever Director General of the National Mining Corporation, Sonamin. They expressed their satisfaction at the end of their sub-divisional council, as Rayanatu Salid now tells us.
They have come out as one people to express gratitude to President Paul Biya for appointing one of theirs, a son of Ombessa, Crtv Boyegenu, to the high office of Director General of the National Mining Corporation. The youth of Ombessa have, in a vote of thanks, promised to uphold the values of development.
We are grateful for the confidence he put in the youth, in particular the youth of Ombessa. We want to thank him very much for everything he's doing for the Cameroonian youth in general, in particular for the youth of Ombessa.
The youth of Ombessa in the Bam and Inubu division met within the framework of the Extraordinary General Assembly of the Ombessa subdivisional branch of the National Youth Council, during which they brainstormed on how to strengthen relations with the local administration. They took the resolve to be fully active in the development of their subdivision, Ombessa.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
Health officials in Cameroon are inviting the general public to visit COVID-19 vaccination centers of their choices and be inoculated against the coronavirus. Some Cameroonians have been expressing reservations, complaining of health risk. Bodwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Andreas Joe, discuss the risk of not receiving the COVID-19 vaccines, and we're joining him now at the Public Health Emergency Center. Hello, Bodwin Sama.
Good evening to you. It is true that there are many Cameroonians who are very, very reluctant to have themselves vaccinated against the coronavirus. Tonight, with our guest, Dr. Andreas Njor, who is the Deputy Permanent Secretary for the National Immunization Program, we are going to find out whether there was some risk involved in not having yourself vaccinated against COVID-19. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Bodwin.
Are there any risk involved if one doesn't have him or herself vaccinated against the coronavirus?
Of course, Bodwin. Actually, it is possible that somebody who is not vaccinated, who gets infected with the coronavirus, can easily develop complication or the severe form of the disease. On the other hand, there are a group of persons who may likely not develop the severe form of the disease. They may have maybe just a mild disease that passes. But the risk with these ones, and even those who might be asymptomatic, is that they will continue shedding the virus. And this is a big problem in transmission. They will continue transmitting the disease. For us to be able to break the chain and become free again in our community, we need to all get vaccinated. That is why we call on the public to all get vaccinated, all persons 18 years and above.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andreas Njor, for all those explanations. It is imperative, it is important. We should adhere to government's instructions. We should have ourselves vaccinated. Let's visit the different vaccination centers in the 10 different regions of the country. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Bodwin Sama. We shall sure be there tomorrow to visit the vaccination centers and be inoculated. Some 44 civilians and law enforcement officials have been recognized by the state with medals on the 49th edition of National Day in Marwa. Governor Mijiyawa Bakari enjoined the recipients to keep working hard for the development of the Far North region. Henry Tato Ikambi has the rest of that story.
The 44 medal recipients from all walks of life, be it in the public and private sector, received medals like Commander of the Order of Valor, Order of Agricultural Merit, amongst others. Far North Governor, who presided over the ceremony, saluted and called on the recipients to continue working to merit this recognition.
Our forces are working in synergy with the population. They have done a lot.
Those who were decorated have pledged to keep being diligent civilians and law enforcement officers.
I consider this medal like a stimulant for me in order to give all the best to my city.
I will continue to work for the peace and unity in our wonderful region.
The May 20 medal recognitions were carried out in respect of COVID-19 barrier measures.
Some newly graduated medical doctors have vowed to be professional health workers wherever they will be posted. The over 100 medics took the Hippocratic Oath recently in Yaoundé. Roman Kenyi reports.
They are now officially medics, ready to work. 86 of them are from Université de Montagne in Bangangté, 70 from the University of Yaoundé 1, committed through the Hippocratic Oath to respect ethics and deontologies of the profession.
This is a certification of our medical doctor license to respect our brothers and sisters, our colleagues to be our brothers and sisters, and to practice profession with conscience and dignity.
Speaking to graduate, the president of the National Order of Physicians, Dr. Guy Sanjok, invited them to respect their engagement. And to do so, he said, the new doctors must first be vaccinated against the coronavirus pandemic in order to protect patients.
A recommendation that the Cameroon medical doctors, the Cameroon Medical Council gives to these new graduates is actually to embrace the medical profession with pride, with strict respect of medical ethics, with implementation of best practices that they learn through their practices, and to be able to respect the Hippocratic Oath.
The doctors are now poised, saving lives in the community as they remain good medical ambassadors.
The National Gendarmerie High Command has taken stringent measures during a special road safety campaign on all Cameroon highways to control traffic and reduce risk of accidents within the National Day commemoration period, characterized by mass movements of people. Dandifon has the rest of that story.
Several vehicle carcasses on the Yaoundé-Douala National Road Number 3, a display of user delinquency, special road safety campaign this weekend.
Traditionally, during big events, the National Gendarmerie organizes on all highways across the territory a sensitization campaign to protect people and their property. It is the case within this period of the National Day.
For delinquent road users, the instructions are clear.
High Command has instructed us to punish accident-prone behavior like disallowed overtaking, crossing of continuous line, and disrespect of speed limits. Defaulters either pay the corresponding amount to their offense or we take their statement and send them to the competent judicial authorities.
Radar control post sprinters and other ultramodern equipment has been acquired to reduce road accidents to the barest minimum, as well as hold back the spread of COVID-19 pandemic.
Sports analyst and media promoter Martin Camus' meme has been making available to the public copies of his book titled Début l'histoire vraie d'un miraculé. In the book, the author narrates his strides in life as a physically challenged and his achievements, giving hope to vulnerable persons. Dixon Ashu reports from Douala.
The translated copy of the book Debout by Martin Camus carries the title, This Weakness, My Strength, and My Dream Came True. True in the sense that for one who is born with a handicap, today stands among the finest of his domain, sport in reporting and analysis. Having run commentaries for 50 television and radio networks home and abroad, taken to honor global sport events like the World Cup, the author is today proprietor of a radio network of international repute at the service of sport. Much of achievement despite his physical challenges to inspire other persons with disability so to own up to their destiny.
This book is my contribution to permit people to have a hope for life.
Media personalities, politicians, personal developers and other well-known figures were up for copies with a special dedication by the author.
People living with disability in Cameroon. He has carried out many projects in this area, and whenever I can, I try to support.
I think I've been part of a leadership program that I run as one of the speakers, but also one of the mentors of the young people.
The book presentation proper has been planned for the days ahead, and it's been encouraged for others to get theirs for proper appreciation when the time comes.
A joint CAF and FIFA inspection mission has expressed satisfaction with the quality of infrastructure to host the 2021 African Football Cup of Nations in Garoua. The visiting delegation was accompanied by Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcisse Molikambi. Wilson Mengoli reports from Garoua.
The 23-man delegation of CAF and FIFA, led by the Deputy Secretary General of CAF, Antonio Bafui, made major stop at the Rundia Dzeomi Sports Stadium, the main competition ground, and its annex and other training facilities where the quality of the turf was tested by experts. Be it at Ribadu, a 4-star state-owned hotel that hosted JS Kabylie during the CAF Cup, questions were asked and answers were provided by the Cameroonian delegation to clarify the inspection team.
I'm a former player. Come to a stadium, the first thing I look at is the pitch. And also the training pitch just beside, c'est notre billard. So we are very happy with what we have seen here. And we came here a while ago, and where we are standing now, if the TV takes a good swing, you can see that it's a fantastic facility. So,
going by the pronouncements of Anthony Bafui, Garoua is ready to host one of the pools of the continent's biggest soccer showcase.
Cotonsport of Garoua have qualified for the semi-finals of the CAF Confederations Cup despite their 1-2 defeat conceded against AS Giraffe of Senegal this evening. Cotonsport of Garoua qualifies thanks to a goal advantage, having won the away leg 1-0. Sports Desk reporter Bordin Sama has the highlights of the match this evening.
Voilà, c'en est terminé. C'est Coton qui passera en demi-finale. Coton qui a bien résisté, bravo.
A defeat for Cotonsport of Garoua in the form of a qualification, losing 1-2 to AS Giraffe of Senegal, sees Cotonsport propelled to the next round of the competition due to the away goal advantage. Cotonsport of Garoua made known her intentions at the 16th minute thanks to Lambert Arena, whose header was stopped by the Senegalese gaffer. The Cotonites' glorious moment came in minutes later as lack of concentration in AS Giraffe's defense permitted Arnaud Sibiri through a powerful shot to open scores for Cotonsport.
De l'attaque avec une frappe qui rentre, Sanou qui marque et qui ouvre le score pour le Cotonsport ici à Thiès.
On a 1-0 lead, Cotonsport gained control of the game with AS Giraffe retaliating at the 33rd minute through Gené's shots to equalize.
Avec cette frappe le score
Upon resumption for the second half, AS Giraffe came ready to carry the day as a defensive error by Salomon Banga of Cotonsport of Garoua permitted Abunjai of Senegal to score his team's second goal. On a 2-1 lead, AS Giraffe showed mastery of the game, multiplying goal-scoring opportunities. After 90 minutes of play, Cotonsport of Garoua lost by 1-2 and ended with a 2-2 all aggregate, but qualifies thanks to the away goal advantage as she gets ready to solve the pyramids of Egypt's equation at the semi-finals.
And that ends the 7:30 news on CRTV. Join Atta Badinuma in exactly 27 minutes from now.
I have personally observed that most of our fellow citizens no longer comply with the protective measures prescribed by the government.